Namaste, beautiful souls. What a beautiful, beautiful day today is. This is Dr. JuJu Love. As I promised you last week that I wanted to discuss COVID-19 from my personal perspective, my personal experience. So I finally feel literally 100% because I actually did have a relapse, and even though my symptoms weren't that great, but I wanted to give myself full rest to fully recover. So there's that. So what do I think about COVID-19 and why do I call it a spiritual disease or spiritual illness? Is because it is really, first of all, it's a known fact that if you have comorbidities such as other illnesses, chronic diseases, especially heart disease, chronic lung disease, kidney disease, diabetes, obesity, all these things, it'll actually affect you much worse, right? And what does that mean? That means most of these things are lifestyle, caused by lifestyle. So what we call the lifestyle disease. So that means we actually do have a lot of control over our health, right? So there's that. But let me just talk about what I think happened. There's talk about conspiracy theory and who is it, like a man-made disease or is a naturally occurring disease. To me, it doesn't even really matter, because what's happened is happened, and what we need to do is not stay, basically stop from this continuing cycle of blame game, wanting to put finger on something and somewhere and somebody, or saying it's your fault, but doing what we can to remedy this whole thing, right? So in some ways, if say, like they say, somebody created it and there is a very strong pointing fingers towards Chinese Communist Party, and that's very plausible. Is it true? I don't know. But if it is true, is it really entirely their fault when something bad happens? And I say not really, because as a collective humanity, we all put into the collective consciousness our bits of consciousness in there. So any little consciousness that we put in there of our own that resembles even minutely of wanting to control other people, control other things, abusive thoughts, and things of that nature would all go into the collective consciousness, bank of collective consciousness. And at some point, it's going to be expressed. And if it was a man-made disease, then even though we all put into this collective bank of consciousness, that one party acted upon it because it was there, and because it kind of goes with their consciousness, and they act upon it, and that's what happened. If it's not, if it's a naturally occurring disease, then why is it affecting us? And is it, why is it affecting us, and is it killing us and things like that? Well, it happens to all of us, and it's not just this disease that kills us. Flus, colds, many other diseases kill us. Many other non-diseases also kill us. day and night, every day. And we don't seem to really question about those things. But this COVID, boy, people are so afraid of this and so scared. Because why? Every other word you hear on the media is invisible enemy, invisible enemy, invisible enemy, invisible enemy. Why is it an invisible enemy, first of all? It was already visualized. That's why it even has a name called coronavirus, because of the spikes on the virus. So it's visualized, it's not invisible. And why is it even an enemy? It's not like it decides to attack us. No, virus is what virus is. Virus does what virus do, and it's just doing what it's doing, and we just happen to be affected by it. It's not, its whole purpose is not to go and kill people. Some people die and some people don't. So just like 9/11, after 9/11, every other word or every word you're hearing on the media was terrorist, 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 terrorist. And it totally put people into major fear. And then from there, boy, we've been losing our liberty left and right. And same with this too. I feel like if we don't play this right, we're going to lose a lot of our constitutional rights. We put our mask on. Is this like to silence us? Is this to, and then keeping our physical distance? We call it social distancing. Why? Why we call it social distancing? We need to socialize. So we call it social distancing, and then it keeps you be afraid of other people, of this invisible disease the whole time, and keep you in this major pandemic of fear, basically. And then it's been also feeding us, saying invisible enemy, and the next thing, 18 months, whatever, and then they keep talking about the idea of vaccination as if that's the only answer to these things. And then they are even talking about tracking device. Is that really constitutionally right? To, God knows, they may start with one tracking device for vaccine, but God knows what else they're going to start wanting to track. We are already being tracked left and right with the phones and all our social media activities and internet search and whatnots, and even our phones. So this whole thing is pretty scary, if you ask me. I'm not saying this is not hurting people, and I'm not saying a lot of people are not suffering from these things, and definitely it has affected a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that we have to be living in such fear of this thing, as if this has, this has us wrapped around its finger, and it's almost like those in the power seems to want to wrap you around their finger and say, well, you're so scared because I'm telling you this is so scary, so if you don't follow suit by the solution I give for you, then you have no hope, basically. And to me, that's not true. So let's put it this way. While it's talking about invisible enemy, why aren't we also talking about the invisible power? Truly, we are all divine spiritual beings. And our power, true power, our life comes from this life force energy that comes through us. And the more we tap into it, the more we let go of our wanting to control every little thing on the outside or trying to control others. First, I would not want to use the word control ourselves. Let's tune in with our own source of energy, source of power, and get empowered, get grounded, get expansive and become unperturbed. So in that, the more you connect, you become more intelligent, more wise, more purpose-driven, more loving, compassionate, peace-loving, and harmonious. And you will be guided to do what is truly right for you, and that also aligns with the highest and the best interest of the humanity. So when you do that, then you would be more likely change the way you live, meaning your lifestyle. You start to eat better, you exercise, you think good thoughts, you love yourself, you love others, you embrace other people, you forgive easily, and you forgive yourself, you accept others. And all those things are very, very healing, not only physically, but emotionally, your mind, and spiritually, you'll be growing. So we have this untapped source of energy that we've been forgetting about while we're all talking about invisible enemy. And just being outside is healing, because the sun does amazing things for you. It gives you vitamin D, it also uplifts you mood-wise. It is the best upper in the world. If you feel depressed, go outside, sit in the sun. Even if you can't go somewhere, just go outside. Just sit outside, on your front porch, backyard, somewhere. So there's that, right? We can do so much more. And when I was going through the effects of coronavirus, and also seeing how it was affecting my husband, I realized that, of course I knew about comorbidity, but what I realized was it really goes after, even if you don't have grave, diseases that's already existing, but if you have any weak, I would say weak link in the body, it's going to go after that. Because what it does is you basically lose the ability to deliver oxygen to your body. So if you already have chronic pains, physical pains and things like that, those areas are already having less circulation to begin with. So that will have even less circulation of oxygen and nutrients. So your pain level is going to go higher. And that was my experience, because I do have, from my previous injury, the neck and sacrum tailbone injury when I was younger, and also car accidents. So those pains were, quite exaggerated. And I always had, as far as I remember, my GI was my weakest link all my life. So that was also affected. But it wasn't, the whole thing wasn't as bad as, I'll say, some of the worst flus I've ever had. Those flus, I remember knocked me out for like 3 days, made me, stay in bed with fevers and really, really miserable symptoms. But this one was definitely manageable. My husband was not so lucky, meaning he suffered tremendously because he had previous lung disease. He had parasitic pneumonia back in 2006 due to the fact that he was in the Air Force. He was an Air Force veteran, and he most likely contracted while he was on duty. So that nearly killed him back then. And this time with the weakened lungs and him also being a martial artist, and he also had many body injuries too, so all those physical traumas. So he went through tremendous pain inside and outside all his organs, and because lungs will bring in the oxygen, and then it'll do its job of getting the oxygen into the rest of your body. So luckily he is truly in good health, and he has also very disciplined life. So he did really conscious deep breathing that increased his oxygen level to the rest of his body. And even when he was sick, he did make sure he was moving his body. I did what I could as a naturopathic doctor and a wife to give him all the natural remedies, all the herbs that I procured before that had anything to do with antiviral, immune support, including foods, onion, garlic, and ginger, lemon, honey, all those things. I just use everything and supplements. And eventually he got better. So he's perfectly fine now. So that's what it does. It goes after your weakest link. And another thing that I noticed was that it really brought out for him, because he was really suffering to a point that he wasn't sure whether he was going to make it. So it really brought up some of the deep-seated fears and some of the old emotional trauma that needed to be resolved. So he, together, we allow, I encourage him to let them all out, because to me, I already was calling it a spiritual disease, and it was really giving him an opportunity to become free from some of those old pains. Time to let go, and let go of the hold of those, the energies that's holding you down, still feeling like you're some kind of victim, still making you feel like you're powerless. So as he was releasing all those things, he was feeling more empowered, and as he healed, he really feel lighter, and he feels like those things are basically gone out of his body, and he really truly saw what they were and how they were affecting him also. So it's very windy here. I hope you could hear me. All right. So it's a spiritual disease, and this is what I meant is it's giving you, it really is giving us an opportunity to dive deep into our psyche, deep into our hearts, and take an inventory of what is there that needs to be healed and replaced, if it's an old programming, old programming, the ideas and concepts that's really no longer serving you. It is time to upgrade and up level and replace those things. And also, if you have old trauma, pains, and emotional things that still sort of controlling you and make you go unconsciously, subconsciously, just lead your life without consciously being engaged to a situation, it's time to go inward and see what those things are. So you don't just reactively operate based on fear and just do for the sake of just surviving, because what is surviving if there's no quality of life, right? To me, quality of life is so much more important than just barely surviving, just living, meaning that you somehow breathe, or maybe it breathes for you even sometimes. Then what's the point of even being sustained alive that way? To me, Life is here for us to experience, to enjoy, and to share. So if you can't do any of those things while you're alive, then that's a very, very miserable life. So I think it's very important to reevaluate these kind of things. So, you know, as a collective humanity, we are in some ways all guilty of depositing these negative thoughts consciously and unconsciously, subconsciously. In all ways, we've been contributing it by thinking certain things, thinking even when we think bad things about ourselves, when we feel like we're not good enough, when we feel like we don't deserve something, we don't deserve love, we don't deserve to be happy, we don't deserve to have good, healthy life, we don't deserve to be abundant, we don't deserve to have good relationships. All these things that goes into the depository of collective consciousness. Of course, positive thoughts too. But a lot of times we are so much more intense when we're having negative thoughts. So it really goes in there like and occupies the space of this collective consciousness. So my wish is this for you. Do whatever you can to change your life to be healthy. If you already have some of these diseases, heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, kidney disease, so many things can be reversed. It may take some time, but if you truly want to, you are so strong, you are so powerful because we are all creators, right? We all have the creative energy coursing through us. We could uncreate everything we have created if we so choose to. So it may take some time for these things for you to actually start seeing the results. But don't lose hope. Keep doing. And just as I had gone through many things myself in my life, I am so grateful in a way that I'm 55 years old. I'll be 56 this year. I am so glad that I am healthy right now because if I didn't change some of my bad lifestyle choices that I used to have, I used to smoke and I used to have eating disorder. Had I still had those things, I think my prognosis for the COVID-19 would have been so much worse. So I'm so glad that I made those changes gradually, but I did want to change. So those are all behind me. And I also pay so much close attention to what I put into my body because, GI, digestive system, is my weakest link. So I bless all my food. I eat the high energy foods. I'm a vegan and I am very conscious about what I eat and conscious about my spiritual practice and everything that I can do. I do my best to incorporate into my life. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best. And I know there's always room for improvement. And all I'm asking you is to unplug in a way from this fear-mongering tactics of the media and just tune in and see what you can do to make yourself at least a little bit more peaceful inside by tuning into that aspect of you and also focusing on what is right, what is going right, what you already have in your life. All those gratitude practices also help. So I hope this was somewhat helpful. And I'm not saying that you have to agree with anything and everything I say here, but if there's anything resonate with you, I hope you take that and digest it and utilize it in a way that is helpful for you, and just disregard anything that does not resonate with you. Thank you for watching, and if you would like my help in some ways, if you feel like you resonate with my energy and what I do, what I say, and if you would like help from me in either reversing your health conditions or keeping your health and spiritual life more in alignment with your true self, then I am always here to help you. So just reach out to me, either private message me, or you could also go to drjujulove.com, drjujulove.com, and you could contact me through there too. Have a beautiful day and stay healthy. I love you so much. Namaste.